Hello everyone, my name is Estella Armenta. I will be a senior here at Wichita State University. I received mentorship from Dr. Rachel Goodman-Williams, and today my presentation is on sexual assault and domestic violence prevention education, delivery, and COVID-19. Teen dating violence, a form of intimate partner violence, which is experienced by youth, which is reported at an alarming rate. According to a Youth Risk Behavior National Survey, of the students who reported dating over the last 12 months, 10% experienced physical dating violence, while 11% experienced sexual dating violence. Some negative effects of experiencing teen dating violence are suicide, substance abuse, and criminal activity. To help guide teens away from teen dating violence and these highly negative, impactful experiences, local sexual assault and domestic violence prevention community agencies are sometimes brought in to supply local middle and high schools with prevention education, specifically primary prevention. Primary prevention is a large-scale approach that attempts to prevent negative health outcomes and promote healthier activities. Primary prevention strategies require delivering prevention education to large numbers of individuals. The best place to accomplish this goal is school-based prevention programming. Schools have access to many adolescents, so that is why implementation in schools is the best place for primary prevention initiatives. A huge key to this project are the individuals who deliver primary prevention educators. These individuals are employed by local sexual assault, intimate partner violence community agencies, and their services are to provide institutions with primary prevention. According to prior research, prevention educators are rarely talked to about the prevention curriculum they use with schools. This research grew from a larger study about the curriculum about teen dating violence prevention and how adolescents are getting this information. Through those interviews, we became curious about how the impact of COVID-19 affected the curriculum. This project is focused on prevention educators and what we learned about the things they experienced over the last few years delivering in the school system. That brought us to these research questions. How did COVID-19 affect the delivery of sexual assault and domestic violence prevention education in middle and high schools in the Midwest? And what benefits and concerns did prevention educators perceive as a result of changes in the delivery during COVID-19? Our study relied on semi-structured interviews. To recruit participants, we emailed the study details to sexual assault, domestic violence, and state coalitions in a dozen Midwest states. Interviews were expected to last 60 minutes. We were able to recruit 20 prevention educators from sexual assault, domestic violence, and/or dual community agencies. Most of our participants came from dual community agencies. As you can see in the charts, 85% of our participants were white, 16 participants identified as women, and these are the states they were located in. To answer our research questions, we performed a content analysis on these interviews to find out what benefits and concerns prevention educators faced during education delivery in schools. The first part of the research question we needed to answer was what happened to prevention education delivery during the pandemic. As we all know, most schools closed due to the pandemic. Prevention education was put on the back burner of many schools. The students were not receiving prevention education during the lockdowns. As lockdown restrictions started to lessen, schools were trying their best to teach their students online synchronously and asynchronously. In some schools, visitors were not allowed to come in. In this case, prevention educators had to provide their services through either Zoom, Google Classroom, or they had to provide their learning materials to the teachers themselves for them to teach their own students. Additionally, another school combined several classes into one, so a prevention educator could provide their services to more students at once. The second part of this research question we are trying to answer is how this change in education delivery was affecting educators. We also looked for the most often cited benefits and concerns of online prevention curriculum across all the interviews. From the concern categories, the major concern was lack of engagement from the students. 10 prevention educators found that it was harder to grasp their students' attention while giving the lessons in online formats. 4 educators had to change their in-person programs to transfer them to online formats. 5 of the prevention educators had limited time in schools, which made lessons shorter and more selective by the schools. 5 educators had difficulty delivering prevention education online. And finally, many prevention educators also expressed concerns about lockdown orders because students could potentially be living with their abusers. Prevention educators found changes within the delivery positive. Prevention educators had more privacy with students because of online learning formats, and they had a chance to work on other prevention efforts, including using different platforms to reach their audiences. Along with that, prevention educators made their programs visually engaging using polls, whiteboard apps, Mentimeter, and pre-recorded videos to provide their primary prevention. Our research questions were, how did COVID-19 affect the delivery of sexual assault domestic violence prevention education in middle and high schools in the Midwest? And what benefits and concerns did prevention educators perceive as a result of changes in delivery during COVID-19? Based on our findings, the class of 2020-2021 may not have received the full benefits of prevention education. The pandemic put prevention educators in an unfortunate situation because they had to change their curriculum and try new and untested delivery methods. While some prevention educators reported that some adjustments were helpful, many prevention educators predominantly were concerned about the quality of their curriculum. These concerns, like student engagement and condensing the curriculum, may have left many students with gaps in their knowledge on these topics, leaving them underprepared to handle these issues if they come up in their relationships. The results of this study can inform prevention curriculum developers about the struggles of real-world application, and it also lends support for researchers to include prevention educators in curriculum development. Now, it is imperative that students receive the sexual assault domestic violence prevention education because sexual assault and domestic violence is a public health issue. These are my references. Now, do you have any questions? Yes, that's a great question. We are concerned about the small size of our sample because it is obviously not generalizable. It is only looking at the Midwest states, and as we all know, there are several regions in the United States, and they cannot all be based off of the Midwest. So the level of engagement, I would say, it was fairly normal. However, after all the lockdowns and COVID, it was very, very, very low, and it was really hard for prevention educators to even get their foot in the door in the schools, let alone teach and get acquainted with the local schools that they had previous relationships with. This research does not, in fact, do that. However, it can lend prevention curriculum developers an aid in how to overcome another lockdown situation, meaning the curriculum developers would have a much better understanding on how to deliver all of this necessary information to schools.